Happy Tuesday and happy new year. Listen, I, in December, I was ready for 2023 to be over, but I went back and forth on whether or not I was actually ready to embrace and take over 2024. But once we actually crossed over into the new year, I was like, hey, it's here. I'm here. I survived 2023. I am getting ready to crush everything in my way come 2024. And I'm excited not only about what I'm going to be doing in 2024, but also what those around me in the enrolled agent circle are going to be doing in 2024 as well. So let me, first of all, pull up LinkedIn. If you guys have been here for a while, you know LinkedIn has been a little bit glitchy. So I'm going to make sure I don't have anybody over there watching because their comments and things haven't been pulling over. But while I'm doing that, good morning, Alex. Happy New Year to you as well. Miss Dorothy, Happy New Year. And I see somebody else is on. As you're dropping in, make sure that you say what's up so I know where you're at. And then Miss Alita, Austin, good morning to you as well. Happy New Year. So, as I was saying, I'm excited about some of the goals that I have because, in full transparency, there are goals that I crushed in 2023. But 2023 overall, personally, and in some business stuff, was a pretty rough year. And like most social media, I shared the good stuff, shared some of the bad stuff, not all of it. But when I was looking at the goals that I hit and the goals that I missed, missed, and I say it that way because I don't think that not hitting your goals all the time is a failure if hitting your goal would have hurt you somewhere else. And I'll explain what I mean. But when I looked at the difference between the two goals, I realized that the goals that I actually crushed, destroyed, those are the ones that I paid more attention to, but not only paid more attention to, I was more intentional in actually taking a look at the outcome that I wanted to reach and then measuring the steps that I needed to take, building the habits that I needed to build to actually reach that goal, right? Whereas some of the ones that I didn't quite hit, um, and I'm not saying it's a failure per se, but the ones that I didn't crush with the same intensity, I realized that I said them, I put them out there, so I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, but I didn't look at how I could actually reach that goal. And I didn't create new habits or take steps to reach that goal. It was all lip service, right? I just threw it up on the wall hoping that it would stick. So today I'm going to share about where I messed up to hopefully help you all not make the same mistake in 2024, right? So we are going to talk about 2024 enrolled agent goals. Yes, that seems vague, but we're going to narrow it down. Let me see here. Camilla says, good morning. Good morning to you all as well. So I want to know really quickly while I'm hopping on LinkedIn here for New Year's, what New Year's Day, because I know it's a new year, not New Year's, right? For New Year Day, did you all have any different foods, like traditional New Year Day food? So, for example, I know folks eat black eyed peas. I'm not eating anybody's black eyed peas, but I did have my red cabbage, right? I didn't cook it, I ate somebody else's. But I saw some pretty awesome food on other people's pages, and I want to know what you all had. So, I was right. On LinkedIn, I have as many people as I have on Facebook right now, but it is not pulling over for whatever reason. So if you were on LinkedIn, if you would do me a favor, just drop in the comments. I can see you. I'll make sure that I address your questions on today if they pop up in the comment section. Thank you, Joshua. Good morning to you and Happy New Year. Or I'm sorry, you're 8 hours ahead of me. So it's not morning, it is well into the afternoon, early evening there. So again, Looking at the enrolled agent goals for 2024, I have heard that annual planning is not good for anyone. Now, I personally disagree. But the reason I bring that up is because I'm going to ask you guys some of your goals, right? And it doesn't have to be anything, super personal like your income goal, because I like to break my goals up into two different categories. I like to look at my impact goals because that's actually what's most important to me, who I'm impacting and how I impact them. Then I like to look at my revenue goals because here's the thing for me, and what I found in my limited 34 years, right, is that when I show up to serve, that's when I have the biggest bang for my buck, my time. When I show up to serve, the income, the revenue, it follows that. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think anybody as an entrepreneur should be working for free, but I do believe that when we have a business, we need to have a servant's heart and focus on more than just building our bottom line. All right. Now, I know that's debatable. Not everybody's going to agree with me, but I promise you, if you show up with a heart of service, ask for guidance on where you need to connect revenue to that, the money will follow. Because here's the thing, especially if you're on here as an enrolled agent, we are service providers, right? So service is built right in there. The results that you get for clients are a show of service. And when you show up with that servant's heart and you do everything you can to solve the problem for that client, that's when the revenue falls in place. So let me see. Karina, thank you so much. Will you let me know, because you're a faithful LinkedIn person, are the comments being glitchy this morning? Because I see I have comments on LinkedIn that aren't pulling over here on StreamYard. Let me see. Miss Dorothy said, I'm with you on that. I don't need any black eyes either. Yeah, black eyed peas. One of my grannies was a Mississippi granny and she made me eat them. It was one of those things when I got older, I was like, when I'm grown, I am never ever eating these again. So Austin says no traditional meals, and I don't fool with anyone's black eyed peas either. Awesome. That means I'm in good company. Y'all are my folks, right? And again, Karina on LinkedIn said, good morning. All right. So now I have more people on LinkedIn than I have on Facebook. If the comments are being glitchy and you actually do want to interact live, feel free to hop on over to Facebook at Timbaland Bowens, America's favorite EA, so you can drop in the comments. If they're not being glitchy and you're just not commenting, shame on you. No, I'm just kidding. Um, but no, really, I want to make sure everything is up and running because LinkedIn and StreamYard said they did fix the problem for me. So, Mayor, good morning to you, good sir. So let me get back on topic because you guys know how I get. If you're catching this replay on YouTube and if you're new to me on LinkedIn, let me go ahead and introduce myself. My apologies for that. So my name is Timbaland Bowens, and I'm America's favorite EA. No shade to the rest of you, but I'm the favorite, right? But I'm also the owner of Bowens Tax Solutions, which is a virtual firm based in Louisville, Kentucky, and we specialize in tax representation. So typically, my clients are going to owe the IRS $100,000 or more, or they're actively being levied or audited. All right. If you're tuning in right now, you probably know me from doing these live streams on LinkedIn and Facebook. I also have a YouTube channel and I'm the host of the Tax Relief with Timbaland Bowens podcast. Okay. So comments on LinkedIn are glitchy. I'm going to screenshot this and send it to them because they keep telling me that it's fixed. But thank you so much, Karina, for letting me know that. So while I do help taxpayers, I do also have an enrolled agent mentor program that launched last September. However, a little bit before that, not necessarily as like a um, method of launching, I started going live on LinkedIn and Facebook every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern. And the reason being is because there are less than 100,000 enrolled agents, right? even fewer of those that look like me. And one of the goals that I had, even though I had ran from it from years, right, officially teaching or mentoring, one of the goals that I had for last year was to help people that were in a position like I had been. So, part of my backstory, I went the traditional accounting route, right? I went and got an accounting degree. I worked at a CPA firm and I fell in love with taxes and tax law. I knew that I did not necessarily want to become a CPA if I did not have to, because the whole exam just didn't cover taxes. So for me, being a lifetime learner, not liking to waste my time, it made more sense to me to take a test, an exam that was going to cover only taxes, right? And with that, name me an expert in the tax industry. Now, at that time, because the enrolled agent is not as popular as the CPA designation, I didn't know about all the CPA EA beef that we have, right? And I feel like in learning tax representation, because it wasn't something that was highly promoted within the firm that I worked in, not to my knowledge, right? Not to my knowledge, not in that office. I feel like I was stumbling along the way because I didn't have people in front of me, and when I say that, I mean literally in front of me that were doing that type of work, right? When I think back, the only person I knew like helping people with taxes that wasn't a big company on the radio or TV was Ronnie Deutsch, right? You guys know who Ronnie Deutsch is? If you know who Ronnie Deutsch is, put it in the comments. Um, but yeah, that's the only person I knew. And I mean, that young, I wasn't reaching out to figure out, hey, how can I be mentored by Ronnie Deutsch? By that time, actually, she may have already been out of business. Um, so yeah, if you don't know who Ronnie Deutsch is, no shade on her name. Go look her up. But she was a pretty big player in the tax resolution space. So with that being said, I didn't have anybody in front of me that was in this space. And then as I began expanding my network on LinkedIn, finding different study groups on Facebook because I bought different softwares to study for the exam, or not softwares, different prep courses to study for the exam. I began finding people online, but even finding people online, I wasn't finding people as young as me. I wasn't finding people that looked at me. And I just felt like I was stumbling. All right. So, Deja, good morning. I don't think you would remember Ronnie Deutsch. Alex says he remembers her. Yeah, I was gonna say she was quite the character. In her commercial, she seemed like quite the character. I never met her. Would love to meet her to find out about her experience. I've looked up part of her story and why she said things didn't go as well. But hey, yeah, that's the only person I knew of that was in this space. And even with that being said, that was tax representation resolution, however you want to look at it. It was not being an enrolled agent. Kalia says, I remember her as well. So, with that being said, I'm like, how can I do this without being a CPA? And like I said, there's nothing wrong with being a CPA. We have CPAs that do representation work too. But for me personally, that exam at that time, that license just didn't make sense because I knew I didn't want to be in the public accounting space. I didn't want to be known for doing traditional accounting. I didn't want to be known for CFO services, bookkeeping. So I'm doing all this studying. I'm stumbling along the way. It's very interesting because if she's on here, it's gonna be funny. I call her my tax big sis. Last week we were on a webinar learning about the IRM, Internal Revenue Manual, and she was asking like, who is your go-to source to learn? And I was telling them like, in my process of stumbling along the way, there are a few people that I followed, but I had to do a lot of reading. A lot of reading. And here's the thing, a lot of you all don't read. Right? So accidentally, I built this enrolled agent tax professional following because I had started doing videos on YouTube. I had started doing, I launched my podcast, Tax for Timbaland Bowens, in 2022. And yes, there are clients that came from that, taxpayers, but tax professionals followed me more. And I was like, okay, what's up with this? Why? And this whole time I'm running, when I realized I was the answer to the problem I had when I started out. So that is how the mentorship program ended up launching, because I was doing these videos. And of course, when I started doing the videos on Tuesdays, even more people came and was like, hey, can you help me too? And that is how the Tax Pros Representation Journey was born. So here goes one of my tax bros. He says, what's up, Tim? How are you doing, Doc? Um, Ready for the New Year shenanigans? You know what? I absolutely am, because I don't know if you all can see me. I was doing a live stream one Tuesday, and if she's on here, Karina, say hey. Not Karina. Yes, Karina Burgess. Say hey. I said this quote. I said, I didn't choose tax representation chose me. So she gifted me with this beautiful shirt on her birthday. And George, I'm ready for all of the representation shenanigans. And here is why. For the past 3 years, I have been cutting away tax prep clients. Some we've parted mutually, some I couldn't stand them, some I pushed be upset with me, because even when I raised prices, they still wouldn't leave. But with that being said, I am down to right around 50 preparation clients, and I'm excited to be able to focus more on actually bringing in rep people, being able to get their problems solved quicker for them. So I'm all here for it. How about, you know what? I was going to ask if you're ready for the New Year shenanigans, but you have already started, because I follow you on Facebook and I've seen you've already been on it. Back to our main topic. So, for this morning, what are some of the goals that you have? Like I said, some people don't believe in annual goal setting. Some people think you should do it by quarter. So let's look at quarter one. What are some of the goals that you have for your journey as an enrolled agent? Now, I'm not going to be the only person talking and talking to myself this morning, but I will share some of mine with you. I am so glad I'm in good company. So Alex says same here. Less prep clients, more rep clients. Let's go. And here's the thing. We all have different levels that we serve in the representation world, right? Because I see people get nervous and they're like, I'm not sure if I want to go into doing tax representation, because how do you get clients? I don't know if I can actually help them. I don't know, like, it's not the same as bookkeeping or tax prep. Listen, but it is. You just have to put a little more elbow grease and grit in, because here's the thing, everybody has to get their taxes filed, right? But then we have that cluster of people that procrastinate, they do stuff late, they don't follow directions and make their estimated tax payments. And here they are with the tax problem. So, as the last time I checked, 1 in 50 taxpayers has an issue with the IRS. If we have less than 100,000 EAs, and I think it's closer to 70,000 actually. I'm just using 100, so I'm not way off. If we have that few EAs and all enrolled agents don't do representation work, even though that's what sets us apart from all tax professionals, is we have the authority to represent clients before the IRS. All CPAs don't do representation work because there are CPAs that are scared to talk with the IRS. All tax attorneys don't. There are enough representation problems for all of us to have clients on a predictable basis. But here's the thing, a lot of enrolled agents that I know are afraid to put themselves out there as being a tax expert, able to handle these tax problems. And you all, look, I can't I can't handle them all. It's not Pokemon, gotta catch them all. I can't do it. I need you all to step up and walk in your authority to help these taxpayers too. You don't have to be at the same threshold as me at $100,000, right? There are people out here with tax problems that owe 30,000 and they can't pay today. There are people, if you want to focus on removing tax liens, if you want to focus on helping the people that are 20,000 and less, there's enough work out here for all of us, right? So, I'm going back to Alex because he didn't say this was a goal. I'm saying it for him. He says he's doing less prep and more rep clients. That's awesome. George says 6 new rep clients per month. Hey, that's awesome. So, with that, George, are you keeping your prep side the same? Are you growing that too? Or are you going all in on rep this year? The Bull says, good morning, America's favorite EA. It's me, America's favorite crypto EA. Good morning, good morning. Deja says, goals, continue to learn and officially become an EA by quarter 3. Look, that's an amazing goal. I fully support you in that. So Alex says, there were only 40K when I got my credential. See, I thought it was something low like that too, but I went way over to 100 because I thought, charge my head, not my heart if I'm wrong. I thought I saw that there were roughly 70K, but 70K, 40K, even if we're in between that, that does go to emphasize, listen, there are, the ratio is crazy. We have all these taxpayers with issues and nobody out here actually doing the work because as I said earlier, let's say that it is 40K, and thank you for that, Alex. Let's say it is 40K. All of those people as enrolled agents, they're not doing tax representation. When I write different articles or I teach different classes, whether that's online or in person at different seminars and conferences, there are always people that have been enrolled agents longer than me that are scared to pick up the phone and call the IRS to negotiate a taxpayer's debt. There are enrolled agents that have never done an audit before, that have been enrolled agents for double digits in years, right? We have to make sure that if we are going to label ourselves as America's tax experts, now, if you don't want to do representation, you got over here and you said, no, that's not for me, that's one thing. But if in your marketing you say you solve tax problems, you do tax representation, you have to make sure that you show up and put yourself out there so taxpayers can find you, right, to solve that problem. You have to walk in that confidence and authority to do the work that you say that you're going to do. Because with this, I've talked about in other videos, the taxpayers aren't going to raise their hands on social media. So if you're like, oh, I'm making this post and that post, it has to be bigger than that. You have to actually show up as an authority in some area because with representation work, yes, you're going to have your referral marketing. You're going to have your marketing within your own business because our clients, like I said earlier, they don't listen. They forget some of the stuff that we do when we do tax prep and planning work, right? But it mostly is going to be inbound sales, not outbound. Now, you can find the tax lien list and harass those people, or you can position yourself in the marketplace as an expert that solves tax problems. So when they go to look up how to solve those problems, you pop up. Okay? Off that soapbox. Alex says it's actually my goal. Thanks. Hey, people thought I was crazy 3 years ago when I said I'm not taking any new tax prep clients. I just want to focus on representation. And then 2 years ago when I said, okay, I'm going to start scrapping these people, referring them to other places, they still thought I was crazy. But here's the thing for me, my goal is to be known for tax representation. So I'm not getting up in talking about tax preparation. I'm not getting up and talking about bookkeeping because I want to be known as an authority in the tax representation space. I'm all here for people that want to do the same. So Camilla says doing more tax plans, higher end clients. Sorry, promise I can read. More tax representation work, researching on the NTPI fellow program. Very cool, very cool, very cool. I did not realize you were a member, or are you a member yet of NAEA, Camilla? Here's my Florida friend, Robin. Robin says, good morning. I want to stick to tax planning. What? Robin, come on over here to the dark side. You want to stick to tax planning and do a little bit of rep? And Miss Dorothy says, I think people are not getting their EA because they don't need it to assist the clients. Well, okay, let me come back. So Camilla says, just join. Congratulations. So I'm going to answer Miss Dorothy's question and we're going to talk about goals. So, Miss Dorothy, let's go back to what you just said. You think people are not getting their EA because they don't need it to assist the clients. So, with that, let's hear first video of the year. Let's hit that right now. There's a difference between representing a tax client, a taxpayer that has an IRS issue, and assisting a taxpayer that has an issue. And here is the difference. When you assist somebody versus handling it, it's a bigger responsibility for you to just handle it, right? And I respect your opinion. However, I disagree, and there are people who believe that, I can assist the client, that's just fine without fully representing them. For me, I think that's being lazy for a lot of people. And here's why. You can assist the client. Let's say that growing up, I had a dad who liked to change his own oil, do all that stuff, right? Because I was his little girl, he wanted me to be self sufficient. He had me watch him do those things. He taught me how to do those things, taught me how to change the tire. I could go out there and assist him with doing it, and that helped. It didn't get the job done as quick. We got to build relationship, but there's more power when I can actually do it myself and take that burden off of him. Assisting and doing the paperwork is being a paper pusher, but that is not tax representation. Because here's the thing, I'm in my 30s. I'm not getting on a three-way call with anybody. Haven't since early 2000s. Why would I take the time of a taxpayer who has an issue that's hurting them, especially if you look at what I do with getting levied by the IRS? Why would I not want a license where I could just take that issue completely off of their hands versus me saying, okay, let me call you, let's get on three-way, let's call the IRS, and going back and forth and having a love triangle with the IRS. So, like you said, yes, you can assist, but when a client has an urgent problem, that assisting can end up just being in the way. But that's my take on it. Let me go back and look at some of these goals. LinkedIn, thank you for tuning in. I still have more numbers on LinkedIn than I have on Facebook. I only have comments from 3 different people. If you're on LinkedIn, drop in the comments. Let me know that you're here, what some of your goals are. All right. So Miss Dorothy says, my goal is to stay on top of CE credits. So most definitely you don't want to lose your license. So let's go. George, are you still on here? I was going to look at you and your goal with your client. Um, Let me see. I want to use Deja's because, like I said, just as a reminder, Deja's goal to continue to learn and officially become an EA by quarter 3. When I look at my goals from 2023, like I said, the ones that I crushed are the ones I put more intention in and that I tracked my progress. And I said, this is the outcome I want. This is what I'm going to do to achieve it. So, in talking with you today, I want to encourage you to look at your goals from a different perspective. Excuse me. Deja, I'm not intending to pick on you, just using you as an example. So, with you saying that you want to become an enrolled agent by quarter 3, because I've talked to you a little bit off of here as well, I believe that you have a plan for how you're going to do that. I want to encourage you guys not to just focus on the outcome, but how you're going to do that. So, with having a goal to officially be an enrolled agent, and it's funny because I can see some of the people on here, and I know, Deja, you're not the only person that has that goal. Once you actually get to Prometrics to take the test, it's one of those situations where you know what you know, but at this point, it's above you now, right? So what you have to do, because you can participate in the outcome, but you can't fully control it, you need to make sure that you're doing your part, which is studying. You know how you study best. You know if you need an accountability group. You know what days you need to study, how many hours a day you need to study. So when you create your goals, what I would encourage you to do is have some type of tracker, whether that's an Excel sheet, Google Sheets, a journal, to say, okay, I know that I need to study on average 2 hours a day every week. These are the times that I'm going to study. Or if you're a parent, which when I was studying for the enrolled agent exam, the special enrollment exam to become an enrolled agent, my daughter was little tiny, not even in school yet. So I get you have to have some flexibility sometimes. You got to study when you can, but you need to make sure that you are tracking, okay, what is my responsibility and my role in this? If I need to study at least 2 hours a day, 6 days a week on average, how can I track that to make sure I'm doing what I'm supposed to do so I can control me learning, but maybe not me officially becoming an EA, right? Miss Dorothy, her goal is to stay on top of her CE. So, if you guys aren't familiar, as an enrolled agent, every 3 years we have to have 72 hours of continuing education, a minimum of 16 a year, unless it's the year that you enroll, right? And 2 hours of those have to be ethics. So, for Miss Dorothy, if she has to have a minimum of 16, something that I would encourage you to do, this is something that is fully within your control to an extent, because we all know if we've lived on earth any amount of time that life be lifing, right? So for Miss Dorothy, she may have every intention. She may be one of those folks that waits till the end of the year, gets all their CE. But what I would encourage you to do, and those of you who need to stay on top of your CE too, so you're not December 26th through 31st trying to catch up on all your CE, you want to create some type of plan where you can track how many hours of CE you get throughout the year or throughout the quarter. Look at your calendar to say, okay, if you're still doing tax prep, January through April's pretty busy with tax prep. Maybe there's something that I want to learn to catch up on as a trendy topic right now, but that's not what I'm going to focus on getting my CE. Maybe summertime is more free in the cycle of my business, so that's when I'm going to focus on getting my CE. So you're not just throwing it out at the wall to say, hey, I'm going to get my CE 1624 every year. There are folks on here getting 100 plus hours a year, right? You're not going to say that. You're going to actually sit down, make a plan, and make sure that you're tracking that. Okay. So let me see. Miss Dorothy, cool. She said, I'll try to get at least 2 CE credits every month. Joanne, good morning to you. Happy New Year. She says, I'm not in the EA space, but in the economic mobility space and still learning lots. So, in the economic mobility space, look, I'm in the tax space. Let us know, like, what is the economic mobility space and what are some of your goals for this year in that space? So, Deja says, yes, I used the 12-week plan and have a spreadsheet for the entire 2024. EA plus other goals are on there. Kudos to you. So, one of the things that I did for myself and also the people in my community, most of you have probably seen some type of revenue sheet, right? So it's where you put in your desired revenue, your price point, and then you figure out how many clients you need at that price point to be able to hit that goal. Well, again, if we're looking at impact goal, one of the ways that I make an impact within this space is with the Tax Relief with Timberland Bones podcast, and it is with my YouTube channel. Now my YouTube channel is monetized, so I get a little bit of benefit as I'm educating people on that channel. But one of the things that I wanted to do was help people to avoid tax issues. So the threshold that I deal with, usually those aren't W-2 earners. Sometimes they are, though. So, what I decided to do, showing up in a way of service, is to do a series of W4 videos. Those videos, like the main one, is for retirees for their pension withholding. That has over 30,000 views. And I'm sharing that because that right there, yes, after a year, I'm reaping the benefit. But that was me showing up to serve to have an impact. And here's the reason why. I don't have any of my grandparents with me here on earth anymore. However, I love people that are in their 70s, 80s, 90s, right? I think working with people on Social Security and pension income has touched my heart more than working with anybody else, even single parents, even because when I see those people, I see my grandparents, right? And a lot of times when I'm working with a, um, I'll say seasoned taxpayer, right, that's in their 70s or 80s, the reason they have 5 figures or more in debt is typically due to not understanding that their Social Security is now taxed because they still have pension income, or not understanding because they have multiple streams of income in retirement that their withholding is off. So I said, what can I do to solve that problem and have an impact right there? And as I mentioned earlier, focusing on that impact goal helped me to actually be able to monetize my YouTube channel. But I couldn't just say, okay, um, how would I help Granny and Pawpaw? Right? I said, I want to help this specific group of people. What are the questions that they have that they ask? Okay, here's my schedule. What content can I put out on a regular basis that will help them? And on regular basis doesn't mean every day, it doesn't mean every week, it doesn't even necessarily mean every month. I think retirement income, I've put out maybe 6 pieces. So it's about every other month I put out that information to help those people. And from the views and the comments and the emails and phone calls I've received about that topic, I believe I've made an impact there, right? So I was successful in hitting my goal. I was successful hitting the one with YouTube. But again, I said, I want to monetize. These are the things within my control. I can show up consistently here. I know these are topics that people want to know about, and I'm going to do what I can do and then allow the results to show up, which were my goal, right? So Miss Dorothy says, I'm glad I got my EA designation, but I said that because I have a tax resolution mentor that's not an EA with 16 years as a resolution specialist, and I'm the only one in the class that's an EA. That's awesome, Miss Dorothy. So what I was saying, they can assist clients, but you're the only one in that group then that has the power to actually represent clients because they can't do that without their EA license. So Jasmine, thank you for joining, ma'am. Jasmine says, my goal is to get my EA and has been since the summit we had with Krista. However, I've struggled with time management, studying while trying to grow my business. Jasmine, are you talking about the 2021 summit in Orlando? I think that's the only one I've been to. But with you, I'm sorry, excuse me, you all. With you, okay, you said your goal is to get your EA license. So similar to Deja, she shared how she's broken that goal up. With that, thank you for clarification. She said yes. With that, what are you doing right now? And if you don't want to answer it on here, that's fine. We can talk off here. But what are you doing right now to break that up to say, okay, I'm struggling with time management. Here's my planner, my calendar. Here are the other things that I need to make sure get taken care of. What I did, because I mentioned when I was talking to Deja, my daughter was very young. My husband had gone back to finish his college degree, his bachelor's. My grandmother was sick, so I was traveling like 3 hours one way to see her every weekend with a baby who's still in pull ups and all that good stuff, right? So, time management, like I didn't have any, right? So I'm not saying that's not a real problem. But what I had to do was look at my planner, look at my calendar and see what could I actually give up, and then in addition to what I could give up, where I could fit it in that made sense. Because right, my husband is going back to school. I got a young baby. I still want to spend time with my family. I'm going to check on Granny 3 hours away. Like all of that was crazy, right? So, with your time management, what I would encourage you to do is to have some type of system where you can say, okay, all I can do right now is study an hour a day. How can I actually break that up to make sure I get that in? For me, it's pretty cool because I am connected with her now on LinkedIn. But Christy, I'll say Christy P, at the time it was Passkey, now it's Hawk International. I actually invested into that review course because there were lectures. So while I was traveling, I would actually be listening to her give different lectures, right? And then I had a certain amount of time during the week when I would take the practice exams and different quizzes. So that's just an idea. But for me, I knew, okay, on this certain day, my husband's home. We're actually going to be able to spend time as a family. That day, realistically, I'm not going to study. But on the days when I go to see Granny to help me not focus on her being sick, I can actually listen to Christy. And I felt like Christy was my best friend by the end of it. I can listen to her and get some studying in while I'm on the road. I usually didn't max it out at the 6 hours, right? Because when I leave my granny, I call my husband because I was emotional, but I knew I could get at least a solid three in. So I would shift the time that I couldn't spend on one day to get the studying in on that day, right? Just an idea. But wishing you all the best with that, you and Deja and a few of you others that are on here to study. I'm not going to stay on here because you guys know I get excited talking about tax stuff and I keep going and going. But before I leave, like I said, even if I'm a planner snob, but I will go to the good old Dollar Tree and get a a desk calendar in a heartbeat. But I have different deadlines and things for time management here on my desk calendar. So if that's something that you need to invest in, sorry, I don't know why I keep coughing. If that's something you need to invest in because you need to see what your time is, invest in that. If it's something you need to invest in so you can see your revenue goals every day, invest in that. I have different apps on my phone where I can make sure that I see like what task I need to have done for the day. Same thing with your Microsoft calendar, right? You have to make sure you have not just the goals in front of you, but also the breakdown. For example, now I didn't think about this when I lifted it up. In the notes margin of this calendar, because I want to make sure I see it every time I sit down, I have two businesses. So I have Bowen's Tax Solutions, I have America's Favorite EA. I can't just look at the revenue goal that I want to make for the year. I have to look at that by month and then look at it next to my calendar so I can say, hey, you're on track, or hey, you need to step it up, Timlin. So I have broken down my revenue goal for tax preparation for this month because I do still have the 50 clients, right? I have the tax rep revenue goal. But like I said with you all, I have that as a reminder, but I have a spreadsheet that I have with the breakdown of what I need to do to actually hit that revenue goal, right? Because, like I said, in tax representation, these people aren't just lifting up their hands and saying, hey, I need help. It's all inbound sales. So, what do I need to do to make sure that I actually show up so these people can find me? All of that is broken down to the T. So I can even tell you for my revenue goal that I have right now, how many clients I want to serve in the tax representation space. I know how many leads I need to get to hit that number. Because guess what? Yes, it's within my control, the sales call, um, how good I am at closing. But if that person doesn't have the money to actually work with me, that's beyond my control. But I can control the things that are within my control, right? So if I know I need to get, let's say, 30 leads, and for me, a lead, that person that watched my video on YouTube, that's a prospect. That's not a lead. That person that commented on my post and said, oh, I need that. This is debatable. That's a prospect. That's not a lead. A person is not a lead to me until they raise their hand and opt in to something that I'm offering to say, hey, I want to learn from you. I want to hear from you. So, for example, I'll say my email list. If I know I need 30 people to be on my email list for me to hit my client goal, then that means I then need to break down how do I get people on my email list? How many times do I have to show up on social media to hit 30 people on my email list? How many videos do I need to do a week to get people to convert over to my email list? I said I was getting off and then I didn't, but it's okay because Alex told me I could keep going, right? But those are the types of things that you have to think of and not just say, okay, I want to make, I'll use the average representation value, what I've been told is the average by my mentor of $5,000. Let's say I want to get 3 clients, right? I can look at that all day. If I don't put any work in, that's not going to manifest itself up off the paper and become 3 clients. I have to know how I have to show up. So, again, that's the goal. But if we're setting plans and actually tracking, we need to know our numbers. Because, like I just told you, I have to go back and see how many different ways do I have to show up? How do I get people on that email list? Is it through the live videos on Tuesdays? Is it through the posts that I make throughout the week? Is it through the articles I write? What works? And for you, you have to ask yourself that exact same thing. Then follow your numbers to know, okay, if I want this many clients, this is how I need to show up and this is where I need to show up. My tax sister, Miss Lysandra Gass Everett, how are you doing today? She said, Happy New Year, America's favorite EA. If you guys, because I know I do have taxpayers that watch too, are in the home business space, make sure that you go check out her YouTube channel. And some of you all on here now said that you need to stay on top of your CE. Listen, Lysandra last year on the Hush Hush launched a continuing education platform. You guys make sure you go check out Lysandra. You can actually drop a link in the comments if you'd like, but go check out her platform because I think I was going to say the name of the wrong business and I don't want to do that. Um, because here's the thing, Lysandra is not going to give you any garbage, trash, right? She's very thorough. She's an excellent teacher. And if you want to actually take a tax knowledge class that you're going to leave with something's, with some substance, not just fluff, that's an incredible platform to you go for you to go over to and do some of your continuing education. All right. So yeah, Lysandra, you can drop that link in there. Nobody else though, don't y'all be on here dropping no links. Y'all do that on your page. But yeah, Lysandra, feel free to. So Jasmine says right now it looks like dropping all activities that don't feed my future, trips, game nights, birthdays, etc. I've been paying Hawk faithfully, but haven't been in the system. Girl. Okay, so I can't speak for my God. I was doing that 7 years ago. No, 7, 8. Sheesh. I don't know what it's like as Hawk International. I can only speak for Passkey, right? But definitely, like I said, create that plan. If you haven't passed any parts yet, you don't really know what your style is going to be yet. You can check out their groups on LinkedIn, study groups, there are groups on Facebook, kind of try to figure out what that average is, right? For people that need to study, and then apply that to your situation. What I will encourage you and say though is, trips, game nights, birthdays, etc. If you cut all of that out successfully and stay happy, that's hardcore, more power to you, get it knocked out. But just like when people are creating a budget to become debt free and they say, hey, you do still need to account for the occasional birthday party, date night, that type of stuff, all work and no play makes Jasmine a dull girl. But no, in all seriousness, if your plan is going to be extended and you're not knocking it right out like within a couple of months, you may still want to put some of that stuff in there. Maybe you don't take all of the trips. Maybe you don't get to go to every game night or birthday party. But definitely, I personally would not recommend eliminating all of that. All right. So, Alex told me keep going. The rest of you all didn't. However, the numbers have not dropped significantly. I still have more on LinkedIn than I have on Facebook, but I really am going to go. Um, I didn't follow my notes, so I hope I did help you all with goals. But another thing that I want to leave you with is, as I mentioned earlier, I do have an enrolled agent mentorship program that is the Tax Pros Representation Journey. They today are getting their copy of the spreadsheet that I created because, yes, here's the thing, most of us do have some type of um, income revenue spreadsheet. The one that I created for myself and I created it for them to use as well, for them to copy, it does have where you can put in the price point and then you can also put in price point, desired revenue is going to spit out how many clients you need. But in addition to that, because everybody doesn't know their numbers, I did create based on tax representation marketing metrics, how many leads that would look like to actually get the amount of tax representation clients that you would like. In addition to that, there's also a space for them to track it each month, right? So this was your goal. How much did you actually make this month for these different service offerings? Then on the next page, because I believe in accountability and they're going to be able to share this with me as well, I want you to make sure that you are keeping up with the goal in real time. So there is opportunity for them to track how many leads did they have at the beginning of the month? How many leads do they have at the end of the month? What platform are you committing to owning in 2024? But again, it's broken down by month. How many times did you actually post on there? How many sales calls or consultations did you have? How many referral partner or collab phone calls did you have? How many times did you actually put yourself out there as the expert? We're going to flip over. There's a section to focus on content. What's the theme of your content for this month? Who is this supposed to impact? Who is this supposed to help? How many people do you want on your calendar for this month? How many people did you actually talk to? Put a 100 list. A 100 list just means 100 different content ideas that you have. Research those topics. You become the expert in those topics. And then what platform are you going to deliver that on? Is it going to be a video? Is it going to be a podcast? Is it going to be um, just a social media post? Because here's the thing, even if, let's say, myself, YouTube, doing one video a week, if you have 100 qualified ideas, you have eliminated the excuse that you don't have anything to talk about, you don't know what to talk about, right? Because you can always pull from your list and say, hey, this is what we're rolling with today. I already know this is a qualified topic that's going to help me be that authority figure for people to see when they look up their issue, right? So if that's something that you're interested in and you were not in the mentorship program, I do have the Tax Pros Representation Journey. Those folks get a weekly podcast, weekly representation article. I am catching up on articles that are not representation related. However, the promise is once a week a representation related article. It usually aligns with the podcast that's come out for the week, but then there's also a community that's not on Facebook where we have the accountability and they're able to share things with me like the spreadsheet that I created. If you're like, hey, I'm good with your free podcast, I don't really need the other stuff, but I want that article and that spreadsheet. There is a lower tier subscription where you just get all of the exclusive articles. The spreadsheet is actually going to drop in today's article. I didn't do it yesterday because it was the new year, and hopefully none of them were working, even though I was. But if you're interested in that article subscription only, or the full thing, I have dropped the link to that in the comments. It just went on Facebook. I will have to manually do it on LinkedIn. I'm going to leave you all. I will see you next Tuesday. Wishing you all the best and most prosperous 2024. Let's get out here and crush these goals. All right. And thank you so much to those of you that have shared this stream and that have liked it as well.